Bonsoir mesdames et messieurs et bienvenue à notre show Chercher l'artiste. Je suis Dalencour et nous avons un invité spécial aujourd'hui avec nous. Ce show va être en anglais. This show is going to be in English today. So, I would like to welcome our friend and phenomenal artist, Dimitry Saïd Chamy.
Thank you so much, Leslie.
It's such a pleasure to have you in our studio at Island TV. I heard of you when I met Jacek, and he showed us the studio next door, and I fell in love with your designs. So, I want to, he's going to tell us everything about himself, everything he does. I mean, he's got some design, he wrote a book, he's got some incredible. So, I found out that you were born in Haiti.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Moi haïtien.
alors parlez créole.
Moi parle créole.
Mes
Moi parle
amis,
créole.
moi, si tu te rencontres dans la rue, je vais te dire que son haïtien.
Ah, mais c'est parce que quand l'aime tes petits, il dit nous pas parler créole.
Oui.
Parce que créole a gâté français.
Là, faut oublier français.
Oui, ou pas
Nous pas de droit parler créole nous-mêmes là.
Oui. That was the rule back then.
That was the rule.
And also, I went to, I studied in an American school in Haiti. So
Oh, you went to Union School?
I went to Union School. Yeah.
That's why your English is so good.
That's why I don't have the accent.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So tell me, that's an adventure. Haiti, 17 years old. Well, before that.
Before I left. Yeah, I left when I was 17.
And you grew up in Port-au-Prince?
Grew up in Port-au-Prince.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My family. I'm half. My father was Lebanese. He's passed away, and my mom's family is Haitian. Through and through.
Right.
But on my grandmother's side, they were from Jérémy, and on my grandfather's side, they were from Pistel. So
that's in Haiti?
Yeah.
Pistel?
Yeah. Pistel. Yeah.
I've never heard
small
of.
town. Yeah. And so but I grew up and was born in Port-au-Prince, the Hôpital Canapé Vert.
Canapé Vert.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I did go to Haitian kindergarten.
Yeah.
There was a kindergarten called at the time.
Ogalo?
No, it was called Peter Pan kindergarten. So I went to kindergarten at Peter Pan kindergarten. I'm sure no one at Disney knew, at the time.
Yes.
I'm sure, it was back in the days of rogue branding and intellectual property, I guess, was not. I mean, at the same time, I remember we used to watch television and. There were TV shows from the U.S. Like we used to watch All My Children, but it was broadcast in Haiti.
Right.
Broadcast, I think, is a very expansive term in this case.
Right.
I think basically they smuggled VHS tapes from Miami or New York.
Somebody was taping it for them.
But I remember that Erica Kane was one of the characters on the show, and she had all of these husbands, but one of them was named Dimitry.
Yes.
So I had someone with my name, that seemed famous on television. That gave me something to hope for.
So you start in Haiti, you go to Union School, and when you were, first let's say, what do you do exactly?
Well, I do a lot of different things. I'm definitely, a multi-potentialite, as they say now, this kind of newfangled word. I'm a designer, I'm an artist, I'm an educator, and my practice is very transdisciplinary. I feel really comfortable in the spaces between disciplines, so so the work that we have here is actually part of my personal artistic.
Amazing! I was blown away by your work. It's incredible.
Thank you.
I mean, this, like I told you, I want jackets out of that.
This is all work that I do for fun, and so it was really for relaxation, for de-stressing. It was work that when I was really tired of, if I had to say that there was a connective tissue with my work, at a sort of practical level, I'm very digitally oriented. You know, as old as I am, I've basically always worked on the computer, except when I was a child. And so all of the different things that I do, whether it's video or graphic design, which is my actual profession of training, where I got my degree, and but including fashion design, I worked in fashion design for 3 years. All of that really happens at a digital level. You know, I do a lot of work on the computer, but being old school, I sit at the computer at my desk and I work with the mouse and, you know, all of these things. And as I got older, I realized I was getting tired of being at the computer for like 16 hours a day. And so a lot of the work this work came out of the desire to continue making work, but not sitting in that position of just being sort of tied to the machine. And I'm older, so I'm not used to doing everything on the phone. I have smartphones, but I'm not part of that generation that uses them for all the creative stuff. But the tablet, the iPad was really kind of the portal for me, and I realized that I could be horizontal and still be on the computer. That was like transformational, because I could draw, I could use a pen, and I've always been kind of neat, like someone that doesn't really like to draw in the edges of books or to mar books. It was like, you know, keep it pristine.
Yeah, so you have a quote there. You have a quote that says...
Oh gosh, what does it say?
I love it. I really love it. You go, his favorite position is horizontal on the couch, legs pinned down by cats, while drawing on his digital tablet.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
So actually, the tablet, let's say, is like that,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
So do you use your finger and then you? How do you draw? Do you have a pencil?
I started before the Apple Pencils came out, and you had this real precision of being able to draw really, really precisely, you know, which you can with the Apple Pencil now, which is really amazing. And there's three things that I find really indispensable and magical with the tablet. It's portable. You can have it all the time with you. The undo button, because you know,
you can mess up.
You can mess up and you can undo. You can erase, you know, without cost, without but also the ability, especially as I get older, I didn't always wear glasses, that you can zoom in and work on detail, and then you zoom back out and you're looking. And when you train as an artist, as a designer, one of the things that you learn is that you have to look at things up close, and then you have to step back. So whether you're a painter, an architect, a graphic designer, or a fashion designer, doesn't matter. Sometimes you're looking at the little details, and then you pull back. And this is how you develop an eye, and you train yourself to sort of take in the whole scope of what you're doing. And the iPad allows you to just pinch your finger and just switch between those positions. And so to me, it's really literally like technology is magic, I think.
Yeah,
you know,
for example, like sometimes I wear glasses as well, and I cannot read the number on my credit card.
Oh, I know.
have to take a picture of the credit card and make it bigger.
Okay, here's my version of that story. I have trouble in the shower because I'm not wearing my glasses. I can't tell the difference between the shampoo and the conditioner. And, you know, I'm like, why don't they make these letters bigger, you know? And yet, when I was in my 20s and I was in school, I loved 6-point type, you know? And now I think, and you know, I had professors that are now my age, you know, that were the age that I am now, and they would say, what is it with all this tiny type, you know? And now I understand, you know, and I'm being punished by
the things that are written on stuff that you definitely need loop. How do you say loop?
Yeah, magnifying glass. Loop. Yeah. Well, you know, it actually brings up an important point. You know, as a designer, like this work is very emotional, very personal, very playful. You know, and it comes from doodling. There's no intention when I begin. But on the other hand, what you're bringing up about the magnifier, you know, and has to do with the idea of like universal design.
Right.
Like really, there should be no reason why you can't read your shampoo bottle in the shower. And so now the idea of universal design, meaning you design something so that anybody can use it and can access it. If you can't read a label, you know, it's not the worst thing to put shampoo instead of conditioner in your hair. Nothing's going to come of it, except you might have a bad hair day. But if it's a medicine bottle, or if you're talking about chemicals, there have been cases where I've seen these terrible TikToks where people have put lacquer in their hair instead of conditioner, or and then they go online and they're asking people like, how do I get rid of this stuff? And it's pretty scary. There could be consequences. So
I've learned, like, if we use those little tubes to let's say a piece of your shoe comes out and you want to glue it, wear gloves.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
My fingers got stuck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I think everybody's gone through the crazy glue moment. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So tell me, so when you were young, that's when it started that you wanted to draw? What attracted you to the art first?
Well, so this is interesting because when I really born an artist. I come from a family of educators, small business people, and artists. My godmother was a painter. I had a cousin, I guess we would have called him an uncle, but he really wasn't an uncle, who was a really quite well-known painter in Haiti when I was a kid, and there were others. We were really surrounded. I have another cousin, a cousin of my mother's, who is still alive and who is, a beautiful painter.
Right.
I have relatives that are doing fashion in Haiti. So creativity was really a big part of everything. Writers, historically in my family. My dad was kind of the exception. He was creative in a different way. He was more of a technical person. He could build cars. He built buildings. He was a civil engineer, an architect. He could repair anything, so he had that sort of technical expertise, and it was mechanical. Like he could do things with his hands, whereas I do those things on the computer. So there's that connection there. But definitely born an artist and drawing, doing all sorts of things very early on. But interestingly, I did take a break from that, and I think this is not unusual. I didn't find my profession until well into my 20s. I actually initially wanted to study computer science when I left Haiti, and even before graduating, I was trying to stay away from the art, thinking, how am I going to make a living doing this? How am I, what does this mean? I could see creativity around me, but I didn't really know how it could turn into a practical avocation, a profession, and I think I was the first person in my family to go to college, and I think there's a lot of pressure, as immigrants, regardless of what your circumstances are.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. Stay right where you are.
I am a solar development project manager. Solar is a stable fuel source, which will lead to stable bills and ultimately will produce savings for our customers.
I know that FPL is looking at other ways that down the line will reduce my bill, and the future is bright.
Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center delivers the most innovative treatments available. From leading-edge research and breakthrough clinical trials to life-changing therapies and superior outcomes, Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center is the only NCI-designated and nationally ranked cancer center in South Florida. And with 10 locations in the region, it's easy to find a specialist near you. Learn more at inpursuitofyourcure.com.
Seniors need and deserve the best care they can get. At I&B, we've been providing such care for over 20 years. Our seniors built this community. They invested in us. Now it's time to give back to them. At I&B, we know how to care for our seniors.
I'm Sergio. I work for FPL. We've transitioned from foreign oil to natural gas, and we're moving responsibly towards solar, battery, and green hydrogen.
And I know that FPL is looking at other ways that down the line will reduce my bill, and the future is bright.
Alan KV, Palen de ANB.
Oui, Baz. Ben posé, men. Yo bodo male, ANB, wash. Way, ANB, c'est la santé.
Zami, ou kon ANB pa vre? C'est yon one-stop shop sot médical, tande? Bon bagay. ANB, c'est la santé. ANB, c'est la vie. Patient, yo c'est famille. Tout patient, c'est amis. C'est pour nous yop travail, yo c'est la caille. ANB, pa gen manti, yo guéri toute maladie. ANB, c'est la santé. ANB, c'est la vie. Patient, yo c'est famille. Toute patient, c'est amis. C'est amis. Amis dans ANB, c'est famille. Famille dans ANB.
Relais ANB dans 305 835 92 64 305 835 92 64.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, with our guest, Dimitry, Saïd, Chamy. Dimitry, you were telling me about Yale. You went to Yale?
Yes.
So, I mean, no, from Haiti to Texas.
First Texas, yeah. So I definitely had a checkered academic. It's odd that I'm actually a teacher now. Really kind of miraculous, truly, because I always did very well in school,
Yeah.
and but I was definitely, as they say, multi-potentialite, where I always had an even score on everything. It was really hard to figure out what to do. So
Wow.
I initially went to Texas to supposedly study computer science, and at that time, that meant literally using paper punch cards and programming.
Oh, I remember those.
Yes.
They were
Yeah.
ASCAP and...
Well, we were using Fortran and
Fortran.
Pascal, and this was basically scientific programming.
Yeah.
Definitely not what I was suited for,
Right.
and so I was a bit lost. What did save me was that I did find some really good English classes,
Right.
and I'm still grateful to this day for that, because that was really both an emotional rescue and an academic one. But after 3 years, there was a couple of things going on, in my life personally. One was that, I had actually decided to go to the University of Texas because it was affordable,
Right.
and money was a big factor,
Right.
but also a very good school, but also it was very, very far away from Haiti. And I loved growing up in Haiti, but I was also, a queer kid. I was gay, and I was very closeted, and
Yeah.
really, this is before the internet, there was no model for how to be gay.
Right.
And this is during the 80s with
Right.
AIDS and all sorts of things going on. And remember, back then, they used to actually call AIDS 4-H, and one of the H's was Haitian.
Yeah.
And so there was a huge stigma. So on top of just the normal fear of coming out, there was all of that clouding everything, and so that really was very difficult personally to try to cope with. I was starting to sort of come out a little bit. I made friends that could see, I always say now, in retrospect, that my closet was like for me only. It was like a one-way mirror. Like I thought I was hiding perfectly well, but but I was really just hiding from myself, right? And so people really were there. I made some friends that really did help me along on that journey, but it took many, many years. And so there was that, and there was also the fact that I was not very good at algebra. I'd had a bit of problems in math, and you had to take some calculus. And I failed calculus, I think, twice before finally passing it. I had to take remedial algebra in the summer. And this was really a big blow emotionally, because I was such a perfectionist as a child. And
there are classes that you have to take.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I had to, the reason I kept taking it was I had to take it, otherwise I'd be kicked out. And so basically, after 3 years, and there was also political turmoil in Haiti at the time. It was just, I grew up entirely under the Duvalier regime, and so and then Baby Doc left, during my time at college, and we were, these were very sort of tumultuous times, as you probably remember, and so there was all of that going on, in Haiti while I was alone at college. And so really after about 3.5 years, I actually dropped out. My grades were okay, and despite the problems with calculus, but I had kind of lost my way.
You had enough of the computer.
It was, part of it was that I didn't know what I wanted to study. I realized it wasn't computer, but I really didn't know where I was going, and I just felt like I was just sort of in a holding pattern. So as a result, I came back, and this time it wasn't to Haiti, because by then my family had started to migrate to the US. My mom was living here. My dad was still in Haiti, and I moved to Miami. This is how Miami became my true American hometown, I like to say. And I've been here since 87.
Wow.
Yeah, and so there I started working, and then came out to my family. This was very tumultuous, but eventually everything sort of worked out, and eventually met the love of my life, and who encouraged me to go back to school. And I went to Miami-Dade Community College for about 1.5 years, and I had just this explosion, because then I really was studying art. I was doing what I was really meant to do.
You decided to go from computer to art.
And well, the thing is that I kept the computer part. So with graphic design, as I said, I draw on the tablet.
Correct.
So I discovered the creative side of the computing, the computer. And so I code, I draw, I design, I write, but it's, it was on the computer. And so I discovered the computer as a creative tool, really, for the first time, and took some serious art classes. There were some really great teachers at Miami-Dade then. And to give you perspective, in 1.5 years, I went from taking my first experimental film class with an amazing artist who's no longer with us named Charles Recker, to being accepted to the graduate program at Yale in the School of Art for graphic design without an undergraduate degree, which was the first time that ever happened. I don't know if it's happened since, but so that's how I ended up at Yale. And so it was really fortune. If I described all of the coincidences and all of the nudges and helps and pushes that I had, that you would just totally believe in synchronicity or fate.
And so you left Miami to go to New Haven.
Yeah, and so that was my first time in the Northeast.
Whoa.
And this is, you're going to relate to, because we talked about being a student in the North and not liking the cold.
Yes.
I wore my winter coat all through August, September, October.
Oh, me too.
I never took it off.
Me too.
And the reason was that one day someone in the computer lab at Yale said to me, Dimitry, this is the first time I've seen your elbows, because I had taken my jacket off. And the reason I never took my coat off was I remembered those stories about the mastodons, the woolly mammoths being discovered frozen in the ice with daisies still in their mouths. And I was like, I'm ready. Like, if winter comes, I want to have my coat, So, but yes, I did.
I know what you mean, because when I first got here, I didn't have a car, and I had to take the bus to go to school.
Yeah.
And it was snowing, and it's beautiful when it snows, when it's just started snowing. Then the snow turned into slush, and then, oh my gosh, it was just pure insanity. Every time I walked through this campus, I said, why didn't I go to school in Miami?
Yeah.
But okay, so you were telling me also your grandma was also a seamstress.
Well, yeah, so she loved to sew, and so this ties back to this work in a way.
Right,
when I started,
I saw the pattern there.
Yes, so when I went to Yale, I studied graphic design, and very seriously, and I also reconnected or discovered that I love teaching as well, because I TA'd for 4 classes, and so when I started to realize a few years later, I was working in fashion, and this is where I started drawing patterns because of work. They said, we need to do linings for handbags and for coats, and can you design that? I was designing other things, and I said, I'll give it a try, and I discovered this. And years later, this was before I was drawing them by hand on the tablet. So this was on the computer. They were much more rigid and much harder to, not as fluid as what you see here. All of these are really based on hand drawing and gesture.
And you literally draw this.
I draw them, yeah, by hand.
The precision is incredible.
Well, that's the beauty of the computer. The precision is all being able to undo unlimited times.
Yes.
You know? So I'm not, you know, they definitely don't come out like that the first time. And so, but I do work very fast. You know, and that's the beauty of drawing on a piece of glass. You know, I trained myself that way and really developed a new style of drawing, which for me, meaning, because in graphic design you don't do a lot of actual drawing, you know, so this was really new. But
do you do a line and the computer takes over and continue drawing?
No, it's
you
really
have to be the one.
No, I'm totally doing every mark. There are certain things that you can do with the algorithms depends on the programs that you use. So for example, if you draw a jagged line, it might,
like let's say this.
Yeah, it might smooth it out for you, you know, but you know, you can set those settings, but no, every line is really truly drawn.
Each and every single one of those.
Yeah, well, this is a repetition. So in that case, they're alternating. You know, so there's actually the same element repeating. So I'm drawing the individual element, and then on the computer, I'm able to replicate it. Yeah. So there's a combination of the fundamental pattern, meaning the fundamental region of the pattern, the part that repeats, is all hand drawn. But the repetition itself is obviously aided by the computer, you know, so I don't have to draw it more than once, you know, and then it can replicate it, you know.
Have you ever thought about doing pattern for clothing?
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's how I started, but it was for work. And then I didn't do it for many years. After that project ended, I worked for that company for 3 years. This was in New York. And then the iPad came about, and I just started to doodle. And you asked me earlier, and I didn't really answer like what I said I used the pencil. You asked if I'd use the finger. At the beginning, it was just the finger, and there was no pressure sensitivity. And the faster you drew, that's what changed the width of the line. And so I learned to draw fast in order to create dynamic range in the actual drawing, and that gave me a very different kind of style, you know, to be able to train my hand so that when pressure sensitivity really came about, then I had to retrain myself again, and I was able to do much more detail work, you know, and that's what you see in the work that
you on the program at FIU, what do you teach your students?
A lot of personal attention.
I met Jacek,
Neil, Maggie.
That knows more about Haiti than me.
And me, absolutely, yes. Jacek is amazing. Well, he's Polish, but he understands the historical importance of the connection between Poland and Haiti.
What advice would you give to a young person that is kind of going into college and that has art in the background and meanwhile has to study something else to survive? What would you say?
I think we live in a really magical time where you can really do so many different things, and I think when you're just starting, it's really important not to specialize too early and to sample different parts of a discipline if you're already decided on a discipline, or sample different disciplines and try to find the spaces in between, because I think that now the world is moving so quickly and we are
have so many opportunities
but there's also lots of concerns. You know, we live in ecological and economic precarity. We've got robots and chat AIs that are sort of taking over creative roles, you know, and so I think that where a young creative will be able to find the space to thrive is in between. Really, don't go for the safe middle ground, because anything that can be replicated easily, and here I'm talking about patterns, but not visual patterns, but things that can be done in a very step-by-step method, can very easily be programmed now into a robot or a chat bot or one of these AI technologies.
It's incredible.
And it's in the spaces in between, I think, and also remembering people. So whatever you do, and I think this is like the dual nature of creatives today, is that we both have to be able to sit and draw and design and do all of the things that we do right, but we also have to connect with other people. Often it's through social media, it's through tapings like this, but to remember that social media isn't media, it's people, and if you think about it that way,
behind every single thing that is written, it's a person.
Hopefully, I mean, there's bots too, but the point is you've got to dig for the people and remember that that's what's important, because it's people that are going to look out for people, not bots, not AIs.
That's true. That sounds fantastic. Listen, Dimitry, you're going to have to come back and visit us, because we have so many more things to talk about.
Well, it was a pleasure.
You were a fantastic guest. I really enjoyed you thoroughly, and I'm sure that our telespectators enjoyed you. Thanks a lot for letting us come into your living room every Sunday. My name is Dalencour. Our guest today is Dimitry, Saïd, Chamy, and we'll see you next Sunday, same place, same time. I love you.